I had a ridiculous life with a lot of pretty big trauma. And eventually I was in a place of absolute near annihilation. My body was in a very bad way because of all the injuries that I had sustained. I'd had an awful lot of surgery to put my body back together again. The surgeon said I'd be in chronic ill health and chronic pain for the rest of my probably very short life. And everything that could have gone wrong went wrong with all the, usual things. And I found myself physically unwell, and then I lost my mind after all that I'd been through. And I lived in a small village of lots of artists and filmmakers and wonderful people. And I just went downhill very, very quickly. The teenagers and the children in the village called me MBL, Mad Beanie Lady, because when I did go out into the small shopping strip where I lived, I'd be saying the same thing again and again and speaking very, very quickly and looking very unkempt. And then I'd get lost and some nice person would take me home.
So you literally lost your mind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was living in various personalities and in hallucinations and then in flashbacks and very bad suicidality. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it wasn't good. And
severe
I was a
mental
feature.
illness.
Yes, I was a feature. I was a typical mad woman on the street when I was on the street. And yeah, it was not good. It was not good. I stayed away from the medical profession. I went to my wonderful physician who ran the hospital and said, I think I'm losing my mind now. And he'd looked after me a lot in the hospital. And he said, what makes you think that? And I told him. And he said, yes, you are. I said, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And he said, I'd write out 5 prescriptions for you now if I thought you'd take them. And I said, no, I have to keep enough of my mind clear so that I can find the way through this, because there must be a way. And so I stayed away from... So I said, I'm not going to come near you so that you don't have to have me, taken away in an ambulance and medicated against my will. So...
that's extraordinary that you would even have that awareness so far, gone or in so much turmoil in your head, and to have that awareness to just want to preserve that last bit of mental clarity to try and figure something out is mind-blowing to me.
Well, it was desperation. There were several points where I consciously decided, and it was a difficult decision, do I just let go and descend into madness? Or do I hang in there just for another hour, for another day, for another little while? So, yeah, there had been a lot that had gone on in my life. I had been the victim of torture. I had been from a very small child a magnet for lunatics. I used to introduce myself by that, and a girlfriend who I caught up with recently reminded me the other day that at around the age of 18, I'd introduce myself, hi, I'm Judith. I attract violent lunatics. What can I say? It's a gift. And so my life was full of stalkers and abusive relationships, etc., etc. And I went up through the hierarchy of violent lunatics till I found myself with someone very, very, very difficult.
So how did you... So now we understand how you ended up as the Mad Beanie Lady. How did you pull yourself out? Where is that shift? How did you pull yourself out to develop and download and apply to yourself this incredible process that you've created?
it didn't just come in a blinding flash. It came
That
in,
would
it
have been
had,
nice.
it had, I already had about half of it from what I'd figured out in the previous years leading up to that. In the previous 10 years leading up to that, I'd figured out bits. But it all came together with that gift of madness, which I see it as now. And that madness went on for about 15 to 18 months. And there were different bits that just came together. So I used to have what I called my falling down pain. I called it my falling down pain because guess what would happen? I would fall down and not be able to breathe because it'd be such intense pain. And I was up close to the kitchen floor and unable to breathe. And I looked up, I glanced up and I saw that the foliage in the window was yellow-green. That might sound very odd, what a weird thing to notice. But where the dreadfulness had happened, where I had first got this pain, where I had been very injured, was on the other side of Australia, which was grey-green. It was desert country. And so I had this idea, well, I'm not there anymore. Perhaps this is a memory.
Ooh, cool.
And I hugged myself on the floor and said, it's okay. You're in Queensland. It's tropical. It's yellow-green. Look at the foliage. It's yellow-green. It's not grey-green. He's not here. He doesn't know where you are. This might be a memory. It's over and you're safe now. And I just hugged myself and patted myself. And the pain went away. It just went. And I sat up. And I thought, oh, I think I'm onto something. And it hasn't come back.